Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is VlogsBoutNothin. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy Sunday night to join me. I really appreciate it. If you're watching from last video, you know that I was planning on doing a mukbang tonight, but time is against me this evening, and as always, I'm just a little bit short of time. You know what I mean? But I do want to post the fourth video before midnight in tradition of VlogsBoutNothin. We at least try to get that done. You know what I mean? I guess, which technically qualifies for something. But more importantly, I want to talk about something. Every week or so we talk about a repeated, subject of which I think is really important, and I think all of us, would be better if we talked about in our everydailies. You know what I mean? And yeah, I did just say everydailies. It's a new word I just made up. It's an impromptu. I like this kind of stuff. But regardless, and so that everybody knows too, extemporaneous style speeches are something that I haven't done in quite some time, but it's because I've been trying to refine the the, the improv skills. You know what I mean? And so with every sort of mess up and every sort of inarticulation, I think I get just that much better. You know what I mean? But that subject that going back to, I want to talk about tonight that we've talked about many times on the channel before is universal healthcare. But more importantly, to be specific as we get into the channel and have time to do more speeches and look back at what we've already talked about and so forth. Obviously, if you didn't already know, the channel and myself, we're huge fans of universal healthcare, right? I think it's a basic human right. I think it should be guaranteed to everybody on this planet. I'm also a business guy, and I think healthy people make for better, apt social and sort of like social mobility in the future. I'm a fan. Healthy people are way better workers than sick people, just straight up. You feel me? I mean, and obviously I'm one of them. I'm just a little worker too. You know what I mean? But I do again once more and finally think that the world deserves universal health care, much less, being one of just a handful of industrialized nations throughout the entire populated world that doesn't have a modern social healthcare system that takes care of everybody. And so that being said, I want to talk about how even, in conversation, there's a discriminatory sort of institutional bias towards people with money and people without. So, universal health care is something that needs to happen sooner than later before the powers that be or whatever, find it more profitable than not to sell and work on novelty medications and things that are going to alter the literal course of human history. Point in fact, gene editing and CRISPR technology. These are technologies that we want to be available for the entire population, not just a handful of people who can afford it. And not to mention that it's just a perpetual vicious cycle in that the people who can afford it are the people often who can perform the services themselves, and no one else gets to benefit from the modernization of all of these really cool drugs that are all very helpful in combating not just ailments that befall upon the Homo sapiens, but also leave room for improvement. And I think that's something that should be available to everybody. And again, not at the cost of just a few people who can afford to perform the services as well as receive them. I think obviously cancer has killed millions of people over the last century or so, and to say that it hasn't been a highly profitable business for those few that are often subsidized by the federal government and charge a ludicrous amount of money for out-of-pocket visits to healthcare providers and so forth. These are all indicative behaviors of a failed healthcare system, in that really the only healthy people are people that have money. And again, that's why universal healthcare is so important, because universal healthcare is something that will ensure a more equitable level of access for new drugs and medications that can alter the course of, again, human history. We're at a point, ladies and gentlemen, where I strongly believe, and all, signs sort of point in the relative common sense sort of idea that there is a cure for cancer. Now I know that's an objective thing to say, sort of, in that there are many kinds of cancers and so forth, but to say that there aren't cures in the modern era for things that we did not think were possible even just 20 years ago, I would say is false, because if you got the money, you got the money, and if you can afford the medication, you can afford the medication. There are so many documentaries whom often, I think, without meaning to, sort of shed light on how not only the modernization and the future of medicine is a good thing, but also going to only be available for those people that have lots of. And so again, I think that once more, basic human healthcare is something that should be free, right? We should be more interested in keeping people healthy than getting them sick, whether or not that means finding a viable business model to sort of, prove that with empirical evidence to keep sort of, the money grubbers hungry. I mean, satisfied, in that, there's still some kind of financial incentive to be good, as opposed to, having a financial incentive to be bad and or even kill people, or maybe not kill them, but prevent them from living their best life, which in some aspects is just as bad or even worse as killing a patient, honestly, because, I mean, if you were given the choice, would you rather just, go away, or, continue to be profited from by a system that doesn't care about you? And while I don't want the algorithm or any viewers to think that's in any way sort of promoting, self-destructive behavior in a way that, would end a life, I'm just saying, rhetorically speaking, in that regard, it's not okay to continue to keep people sick just so that you can make money from them. Like, it's not like a normal, rational, sane thing to say about our fellow Homo sapiens. We should be interested in getting them better, and moreover, finding ways to not get sick to begin with, which is preventative medicine, something that this country unfortunately does not currently practice under its current model. We deal with things as they come along instead of dealing with things or trying to deal with things before they become a problem. And that's exactly what Western medicine is. And so, as it concerns gene editing and CRISPR technology and all other sorts of really cool modern medical techniques that are going to save and or could save more than just millions of lives, they could potentially save billions of lives. Now, again, coming from that social capitalist perspective, I'm about it. I'm about that. It's good for business, it's good for the world, it's good for people. Let's do it. You know what I mean? So the only drawbacks are what? A handful of people all over the world don't get to, make billions of dollars. I mean, at the cost of a few people not being able to pocket large chunks of cash, because they'll never even be able to spend that anyway, I'd say that it's worth more to help everyone out. You know what I mean? And so, thanks for watching the videos. I really appreciate it. If you're not already, take a couple of seconds, consider subscribing. You're already watching the video, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful and fantastic work week. Bye.